The regular Eveleth City Council meeting scheduled for 7 p.m. October 15th will now come to order. Roll call.
Councillor Peterson. Here. Councillor Koivunen.
Here.
Councillor Lillis.
Here.
Councillor Hadrava.
Here.
Mayor Vaisalovich.
Here. Approval of the minutes. Item C, minutes of the City Council workshop October 1st and City Council meeting October 1st. If there's no questions, can I have a motion that we approve these two meetings?
So moved. Support.
Motion made by Koivunen, support by Hadrava. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the agenda for tonight. I know we had a couple additions there.
So I'll make that motion with the addition of number 12, an agreement with the Sabi Range Community and Technical College, and number 13, administrative penalties resolution.
Can I have a motion that we approve the agenda with these two additions?
So moved.
Support?
I think Lillis was the support.
Yeah. Oh, you made motion? Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Motion made by Peterson, support by Lillis. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item E, appointments and presentations. Heritage Committee would like to present a Historical Preservation Award. You have the floor.
Okay, thank you. I'm Lois Ferguson of the Heritage Committee, and I'd like to thank the council for letting us present this award. Okay, the Heritage Committee helps maintain and expand the economic vitality of our community by supporting and promoting the preservation, interpretation of culture, history, and heritage of Eveleth. We are not just a historical society, but also a focus on heritage tourism and economic vitality of Eveleth. We provide scholarships to graduating students of Eveleth High School, and we raise awareness of the value of the heritage of Eveleth. While part of the Laurentian Chamber, Eveleth Heritage Committee relies on funds from our individual fundraising efforts to be able to do its work. This is our 13th annual Heritage Preservation Award, and it's part of the National Trust for Historic Preservation's campaign for 2013, which is See, Save, Celebrate. The theme works to shine a spotlight on Eveleth's distinct historic places. It is a way to encourage visitors and residents to see these places, work to save them, and celebrate the vital role in our community. If we believe that buildings in Eveleth tell us of our past and form our future, then we are on the road to educating the residents of and visitors to Eveleth about the importance of preserving our past for use and celebration of for future generations. The criteria used to judge the nominated properties include property improvements that recognize the initial character of the structure of the building. And there is no time period to be considered. You can have a new building as well as an older one. And the uniqueness of the building and grounds are of greater concern. This year we had several nominations, and we are proud to announce that the Heritage Award for 2013 goes to Tammy Byrne of 110 Alba Avenue. Tammy? There's a certificate in the plaque. Would you like to say anything? Thank you very much. You're welcome.
Congratulations.
And again, thank you, Mayor and councilors, for this opportunity.
Well, we'd like to thank you for the work you do. It's an important part of the community.
Thank you.
Tammy, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Next item, we have Bruce Paulson of Stanek Consulting to present the draft auditorium phase 2 facility plan. Bruce, you can enlighten us now.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council members. Thank you. I want to thank you for the opportunity to present this evening a plan that currently up is the main level floor plan of the Eveleth City Auditorium. We were hired by the city to look at 4 items for phase 2 of the city auditorium to move it forward and trying to get it to a point where it can be occupied at least on the main level. Those 4 items were painting and repairing the plaster in the lobby and auditorium on the main level. The second item was looking at the electrical system to get that up to current code requirements. The third was providing ADA compliant restrooms on the main level. And then the fourth was taking a look at the mechanical system and what it would take to get that system operational and the costs associated with that. As part of our review, we went back through some of the reports and other studies that have been performed for the city by other groups. Architectural Resources did a study in 2006, basically a building conditions assessment of the city auditorium. And one of the items in that report that they had recommended at that time that the city considered doing was replacing the roof. No work has been done to the roof since that report was submitted in 2006. When we were here and did the site observation, we went up and took a look at the roof, and it still needs to be repaired. The roof is past the end of its life. There's signs of blistering, which the asphalt is actually coming up through the plies and separating from the plies. The positive side is the roof has got really good slope and it drains very well. And so there have not been any visible issues in the building at this point of water leakage. But as noted in the report, the copings, which are clay tile, are cracked and falling off. The mortar that holds them together is cracked and falling apart. There's metal flashing between the roof and the parapet that's actually falling away from the parapet at this point. And there are some fairly sizable cracks in the face brick above the roof areas that are continuing to grow and need to be addressed. So that would be one of the items in our report that we've recommended, if the money is available, to look at repairing that. So the first item was repairing the plaster and painting. We understand the city has gotten a grant of 104 gallons of paint from the Valspar Corporation for this project. So the cost of the paint's not included in our estimate. It's basically just labor for doing the painting and repairing the plaster. In 2005, the movie North Country did some scenes in the auditorium, and they installed what we call unistrut steel channels. I think there's 4 or 5 rows of those across the ceiling in the auditorium that are suspended with steel rods, and then they have safety cables coming down from the trusses above the plaster ceiling. Those are part of the repair and restoration of taking those down and getting the plaster patched and ready to repaint. The second item that we looked at was the electrical system. There are half a dozen panels scattered around in the building. The main one is a 400 amp, and there's a 200 amp adjacent to it in the stage area. That provides the majority of the power throughout the building. And for what's currently going on in the building, those 2 panels can handle. With full build out and having a hydraulic elevator in place, our recommendation would be to replace the 400 amp service with a 600 amp service, just to make it function more efficient. But by and large, the majority of the electrical system in the building is in pretty decent shape for the age of the building and the age of the electrical service that's in there. I should mention that phase 1 has just been wrapped up, I believe, and that basically did the exit lighting was upgraded to current code. The fire sprinkler system was recertified, retested, and is functioning now. They did the front entry to make that accessible. We've got a ramp and new stairs coming into the building, as well as updating the vestibule so it's all on the main level, and then did a new stair off the west side of the building at the auditorium for exiting out of that space. The third item that we took a look at was the providing ADA compliant restrooms on the main level, and it's shown on the plan. We did the layout here for what's shown at the top of the screen is the men's bathroom, and at the west side or the southwest corner of the building is the women's restroom. When the study in 2006 was done looking at the overall occupant load that can be accommodated in the building, it was almost 1,200 people. And that occupant load is still current. So it's still, the building could accommodate up to 1,200 people based on the type of use, which is an A3 assembly type of occupancy. The challenge is that there aren't enough doors exiting out of the building to accommodate that occupant load. We've got a pair of doors at the main entrance that will accommodate 360 people to exit out of those. And then the pair of doors exiting out the west side of the auditorium will accommodate another 200 people. So right now, the main level can accommodate 560 people based on the current code requirements. One of our recommendations to increase the occupant load in the auditorium to get it close to the seating capacity that was shown on one of the plans that we got from the city that showed there was about a little over 700 people seating in the auditorium would be to add another pair of doors on the west side of the auditorium. There's actually in 1912, the drawings that were prepared by Anthony Puck actually showed another pair of doors here, like the pair of doors that are right here. That would add another 200 people exiting and get you up to 760 for exiting out of the auditorium. Based on that, which I think is probably the most we can get for exiting out of the building, short of adding more doors in the west side of the auditorium, but that has diminishing returns. We sized the bathrooms for 760 people. Actually, we're at 780, but we've got the restrooms designed to accommodate the occupant load that can be accommodated for exiting purposes. We also looked at where to place an elevator in the building so that we can get access at some point in the future as we develop plans to provide an accessible route to the lower level as well as the mezzanine. And we've got that currently shown adjacent to the women's restroom on the main level and just off of the lobby, and just as you come in the vestibule, you make a left turn right around and there's the elevator. And it seems to work well on all three levels. We also took a look at the basement level and the mezzanine level for upgrades. And mainly looking at the bathrooms, the restroom layouts, and again, how many people can be accommodated by the current exiting that's available, and how do we maximize the restrooms in the available space to make sure that we've got accessible restrooms that can accommodate that occupant load. Again, in the basement, our occupant load is significantly less based on the amount of exit width available than what can be accommodated by the square footage of the space. Again, we've got stairs coming up out of the south to get up to the main entry and exit out that way. And then there's the second exit is out of the northwest corner of the building up and out through a 34-inch wide door in the north wall of the building. So again, the bathrooms that are shown will accommodate the occupant load in the lower level, which is about 460 people maximum. Mezzanine level, all we're showing is the elevator accessing the mezzanine level. There is a bathroom that's in decent shape on the mezzanine level, and the code allows you to not have to provide an accessible restroom on every level, as long as it's not more than one level above or below where you're at. So the plan was to, upsize the bathrooms on the main level to accommodate the mezzanine occupant load for the accessible restrooms, and then basically keep the space on the mezzanine as open as possible. One of the suggestions was that this might become a museum space or some other space that could accommodate smaller groups that don't need the whole auditorium, but could have some meetings on the mezzanine and things of that nature. And then the final item was looking at the mechanical system for the building and getting that operational. And that's really the high priority item on all of our lists. In order for the building to be occupied at all, the mechanical system has to be operational. We have to have air moving through the building to meet the indoor air quality requirements. So that's the first priority and the first piece of this that we need to take a look at. In the report, we've looked at incrementally increasing the mechanical system as the building gets further developed and more fully occupied. The system that gets put in place to allow the main level to be occupied can be expanded with additional components to bring the rest of the building into service with heating and ventilation. So we don't have to do the entire building all at one time. We can get the main level functional and get the air moving through those spaces so we can get in and get it occupied and get this building beginning to be used. And I think that's pretty much it. One of the, in the report, what we would like to do at this point, after answering questions, would be that we would like to get together with city staff and whoever else would like to be involved from the building committee side in the next couple of weeks to sit down and talk through all the numbers and all of the items that we've got in the report and try and figure out what's the best way to move forward to start being able to use the building. What do we need to do to get the building to start to be able to be used and move that forward, and we'd have a meeting and work through that, figure out how to move forward, what we want to get done. I think there are a couple of things that we could potentially do just to get the building moving. I know the dollars that we're talking about here are quite a bit more than the budget that's currently available this year to move it forward. So that would be one of our tasks would be to, what can we do to get the space occupied. So.
I think it was everybody's consensus, thanks Bruce, because we need the expertise here, was to get that thing usable. And it's a work in progress. It's going to be, a number of years as you upgrade it and funds become available, but to get that main floor functional again, because we really don't have any space in this community for people to go or hold an event.
Right.
I think that was everybody's intention here. And we figure we got a good start now to get it going in that direction,
Yep.
fund-wise.
Right.
And then build up from there. How long would a bidding process, let's say the committee and everybody decided the direction they're going, then we'd go out for bids, I imagine, and get some hard numbers?
Yes, and current state code requires that if this is publicly bid, it has to be out for bids a minimum of 21 days.
Okay.
To get the plans put together, I think if we got together in the next couple of weeks and had a meeting, we're probably looking at being able to go out for bids at either some point in December, or maybe we wait till after the first year and go out for bids right after the first year, with the potential of being able to award a project the end of January. Most of this work is inside work, so we think now is the right time to be bidding this and getting contractors to filling up their winter season where they're not doing a whole lot of work outside and would be looking for some inside work to keep their staff busy. And a lot of this stuff could get done during the winter months because it's pretty much all outside.
I think that's kind of what we're all thinking, aren't we? Get some of that done during the winter, so. Mike, do you think that's a timetable to get everybody, get a committee together and everybody?
Yes, I guess the one question I would have is who would, want to, from the council, would want to sit on this committee? Want to have a meeting with the entire council? Could certainly post if you'd like to do that. Buildings and Grounds Committee, other members of the council. Certainly there's some interested citizens too that have been talking to us several times over the years. I could extend the invitation to them also, if you'd like.
I'd like to get a lot of citizen input, if we could, because there's, a lot of history there, a lot of things people remember about it, that this is the stage of the project you want to get all that input and do things with
Absolutely.
before we have to undo something. But I'd be willing to sit on that committee too, what,
Yeah, I would too.
yeah, because it's turned into a real interesting project. It's preserving some of the history of the community, plus it's going to be functional for everybody here.
Well, the building is over 100 years old. It was built in 1912 at a cost of just over $25,000.
It's a far cry from what's on this piece of paper.
Yep, it is absolutely amazing. They awarded the contract around the 1st of April, and the building was open the end of November.
That's unbelievable,
Yes.
It's interesting because if you ever had to tear that building down, that's made to last, it'd be a substantial amount of money to ever get it knocked down.
Yep. And for the age of the building, again, except for the roof, which is past its life, but it's not leaking because, again, when they designed it with really good slopes, and it drains. The rest of the building is in pretty decent shape. The exterior, one of the things that they did back then and continued on for many years after this was built was the main facade, which is the south face of the building, has a much harder brick, has lasted much better. All the rest of the walls have a less expensive, softer brick that is showing its age and deteriorating, and so along with the mortar deteriorating, and again, I don't think it's been tuck pointed since it was built. Typically that needs to be done about every 50 years. And so the softer brick is to the point where tuck pointing probably isn't a good solution. And so one of the things in the report was actually covering that up with insulation and then doing a synthetic plaster system called Drive It, and that would actually help to improve the thermal efficiency of the building as well at the same time. And that's a synthetic plaster, and it stands up very well to weather.
Anybody have any questions for Bruce?
I would be interested in filling in with you two whenever.
Because as long as we have some of us available to get some input to keep the project moving. Well, Bruce, I really appreciate you giving us the lowdown on building. We've been waiting a long time.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
I know everybody in town is kind of curious what's happening with. Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, Bruce, if you'll check your schedule, I know you'll see how what your staff schedule looks like. Give us some possible dates for meetings. I can share that with the mayor and the council and pick a date. And also, Bruce was going to leave some of these drawings that we'll display downstairs in the lobby.
Okay.
If anyone has any questions, if I'm around, they can certainly stop in and ask me. I'll do my best to try to answer any questions the public may have.
All right. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you. Move on to item F, visitor presentations or anything from the public at this point. I will allow time after the meeting for any input on anything that's occurred during the meeting. If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda, which contains one item, approval of payroll, September 16th through the 30th. Can I have a motion that we approve the payroll?
So moved.
Motion made by Peterson, do I have support?
Support.
Support by Lillis, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We have no public hearings at this time, no unfinished business, and we'll move on to new business. Proclamation from Advocates for Family Peace. It's for the month of October. Dedicate that. Have we made a proclamation?
In past years, we
I
have.
thought we did. No one has any questions, can I have a motion that we do official proclamation dedicating October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month?
I'll make the motion.
Motion made by Peterson, do I have support? Support. Support by Koivunen, any further discussion?
Yeah, I just, want to bring it to the audience attention that for this year, for 2013, there have been 33 fatalities due to domestic violence in the state of Minnesota. So that's one fatality a week due to domestic violence and sexual violence in the home. So it's really important that we speak out and support each other when this occurs.
Well, it's important that people know there are places to get some help before, things escalate to that level. That's the awareness. I agree with you there, 100%.
Absolutely. And the Advocates for Family Peace, their information is downstairs in our lobby. If anyone is struggling with finding a safe place or leaving that kind of environment, we do have that information available for you to get that help.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item number 2, second reading of ordinance, adding chapter 6, banning the sale and possession, transfer, manufacture of synthetic and alternate drugs. I know we had some input the last meeting from you, Brian, and Chief Koivunen. Did we get everything addressed that you wanted to see in this ordinance?
Yes, Mayor. The ordinance itself looks very good, and at the end of the meeting, as part of item J13, we're going to be considering a resolution to adopt the fine schedule to the previously established administrative offenses ordinance. So everything looks good.
And I appreciate the expert input from you and Tim, because I don't want to leave any loopholes for these characters, to climb in here. If no one has any questions, can we approve this, get a motion to approve the second reading of the ordinance?
So moved.
Support.
Motion made by Lillis, support by Hadrava. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item number 3, proposal from Walker, Guru, and Hani for fiscal year 2013 audit services. Jackie, that's kind of our standard.
Mayor and council, every year there's a bit of a percentage increase, but they do a whole lot of work for us and do a good job. And you just heard the audit results from 2012, and good audit for the city. We're in good shape, and we do a good job segregating duties as much as we can. So working with Walker, Drew, and Hani is a pleasure, and I would welcome them back here again.
If no one has any questions, can I have a motion that we accept the proposal?
So moved.
With support?
Support.
Motion made by Koivunen, support by Hadrava. Any further discussion? That would start in February, you're thinking?
Mayor, they usually come mid-February and here for probably 3 to 4 weeks on site.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item 4, resolution approving post-issuing compliance procedure and policy for tax-exempt government bonds. And basically, this is just standard. Okay,
I'll make that motion. It's covering the work on Jones Street.
yep. Motion made by Peterson to accept the resolution. There was support. Support. Support by Koivunen. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Resolution accepting the offer of the Minnesota Public Facilities Authority to purchase 219,656 $9,656 general obligation water revenue note, providing for its issuance and authorizing execution of a project loan agreement.
I'll get ahead of myself.
And is that for the Jones Street project also, isn't that?
It is, Mayor. It's PFA monies that is a really low interest, and this fills the gap we had, the remaining dollars that weren't covered by grants. And so you guys said all along you wanted to issue this debt. So this is the simple part of this resolution, and then you and I have a stack of papers about 2 inches high we have to sign.
Yeah, you warned me about that earlier. Can I have a motion that we accept this resolution?
So moved.
Support?
Support.
Motion made by Koivunen, support by Peterson. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item number 6, consider approving progress payment number 1 for 2013 sanitary sewer cleaning and televising. An amount of $9,652.84. Eric, how are we proceeding with our schedule here?
Everything's going just fine. Again, this is part of the MPCA stipulation agreement. I believe we have 1 more year, maybe 2 more years of this to do. Just a kind of an update on this. This is just a progress payment because the televising and cleaning contractor has to come back. The city, I think, and public works staff were going to, make available a couple of the manholes I think might have been paved over or something of that nature. So we talked with Great Lakes Pipe Service, Mike and I did, and I believe public works staff is going to do some of that work in the next upcoming week or so here. And then as well as we will need to have them remove some of the protruding taps which they encountered during the televising, which didn't enable them to complete the entire run. So they really only have about 2/3 to maybe 70% of the work completed, but there is some work that city staff needs to do, and then they said they'd come back into town and finish it up. So that's why we have this progress payment of $9,600 in front of you this evening.
I just want to make sure we're on schedule so they don't send the dogs after us.
Yeah, I think you're complying with the stipulation agreement, so that's good.
Can I have a motion that we approve this progress payment for $9,652.84?
So moved.
Motion made by Peterson, do I have support? Support. Support by Koivunen. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Item number 7, consider approving Eveleth Veterans Park Manager Agreement for the years 2014 through 2016. And this comes from the Park Commission, I think, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, Mayor. We're requesting that Bob and Ken Charo have done an excellent job at Veterans Park. In the past 8 years or so, we're expecting a 2% increase for the 3-year contract, length of the contract per year. And I think it's a good thing. They've been very, very good to our park and very good to us.
Well, that park has been full, and I don't hear any negative comments about that.
So with that being said, I'll make the motion.
Brad, you make the motion to approve the management contract for the Eveleth Veterans Park. Do I have a support?
Support.
Support by Lillis. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Item number 8, consider approving veteran parks rates for 2014. I think every year they do a nominal rate increase, I think, on that,
Well,
to keep up with the,
just to keep up with inflation and a few things that keep going up, our sewer, our water rates. So it's very minimal. And in this case, I think we're adding an additional $5 a day for extra adults. We allow two adults and children to come in under 18, and if they have extra adults over 2 in their camper, then it's a $5 a day charge. And I'd recommend, make a motion that we accept them rates.
I think you've been doing a good job at keeping your rates, realistic.
We do a lot of comparisons to make it good.
Have a motion that we approve the rate increases for 2014 at the Veterans Park. You made the motion,
I made
Brad?
the motion,
Do I have
yeah.
support?
Support.
Motion made by Hadrava, support by Peterson. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Item 9, consider approving special Veterans Park building and rental rate for the Northwoods Winnebago RV Club. And this also comes from a recommendation from the Park Commission.
Yes, Mayor. We have this group coming in, they're talking about bringing 15 to 20 RVs. Parts of their group have used our facility in the past. This is basically just a little bit of a discount, you might call it, for them to come in and use the kitchen rate for this one time. And here comes Mike, he might be able to help us a little more with this one. The Winnebago Club, Mike, I just explaining that they have parts of their group have used this before. They're coming in with 15 to 20 RVs, nice group, bunch of elderly, and we wanted to reduce the kitchen and dining room rental rate to $100. And it's normally $125 per day. But with that big of a large group, we feel that it's beneficial to reduce it a little bit.
And in addition, that's it. It's during the week. Very seldom do we rent the facility during the week. Weekends, it's certainly more popular. When these people stop by the fall of 2011,
Yeah.
on their way to their camp, I think that's maybe what got them interested in coming back. So these are really the type of groups that we'd love to have come and stay, especially during the week or in September for a fall camp when it's going to be a little slower.
So I would make a motion that we accept that also.
Do I have support to that motion? I'll support. Motion made by Hadrava, support by Koivunen. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. You know, I see recognition of volunteers for sodding the number 9 tee box at the Eveleth Golf Course.
So people took you up on that offer, quite a few.
Yes, I think actually Earl Fitzgerald and I think John Rinney really got the ball rolling. In fact, I have to tell you, the 3 employees at the city garage left shortly after 7 that morning. They had to gather up some equipment. They went out there. I think it was about 8:45. I thought I'd stop out and see how things were going. Well, I missed the bulk of the activity. I think they were down to their last pallet of sod. They really did a fantastic job. They're all to be commended for their hard work. It really looks good.
All the familiar names here, you know, I mean, it's been a banner year for contributions and, you know, volunteer help, which is really nice to see. And what would you like us to do, Mike?
Well, I think it's, if you'd like to, or I could like to read off the names of the volunteers.
Why don't you do
And okay. All right. Yeah, number of volunteers. This took place on Wednesday, October 2nd, 2013. These people, again, volunteered to help place 10 pallets of sod on the new number 9 tee box at the golf course. And they are, hope I'm pronouncing all the names correct, Todd Twite, Dave Twite, Doug Mim, Larry Boney, Larry Hall, Bill Perko, Bill Jarvie, Bob Dankruger, Jim Wainio, Tom Babich, Paul Lovato, Mike Newman, John Rinney, Tom Gilpin, and Joe Babich. Did a very good job.
I'll tell you what, it's, a lot of people are gonna benefit, you know, from their hard work. I really appreciate them doing that.
And we got the sod down at a very good time of the year. I'm certainly hoping by June next year, everybody will be playing on this new tee box and really.
Well, I think I can speak on all of us that we really appreciate and want to thank them for everything they've done there. And we have another one. Another volunteer helping, Jim Wainio at the whitewashing, the rink down at. He did a real professional job.
Very nice. When you get to the hip, take a look. You'll be pleasantly surprised. Jim Wainio, Pearl Masabi brought their whitewash sprayer down to the hippodrome. Usually, our people would put the whitewash in the Zamboni and apply it as they flood. Brought their sprayer down to apply the whitewash, and it really looked nice.
Like I say, it's just nice to see all this input, and everybody's got a lot of good ideas. I really appreciate all of them helping out. And we move on to item J12, which basically is an agreement between the City of Eveleth and Mesaba Range Community and Technical College, and that is to allow students to ride on the ambulance. Is that, Jackie, that's for training basically, or?
Yep, Mesabi Range College has an EMT program, and so they have agreements with various ambulance services, and we're one of them where they can ride along with us.
It's basically use a blueprint of what the state issues. We have a motion that we approve that agreement, so the ambulance staff can get these young people on board.
So moved. Support.
Motion made by Koivunen, support by Drama. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. And item J13, we have a fine structure, and I'll just let the experts kind of go over that. You want to take that, Brian? The resolution, you and Tim?
Well, can't say I'm much of an expert, but essentially what we're considering is updating a previously established ordinance that was established in 2003, I believe. It's actually ordinance number 33 of our second series, and we're bringing it up to date, today's date, and adding to the list of recognized offenses those offenses pertaining to synthetic or alternative drugs in the ordinance we had our second reading on a few minutes ago. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I think what this does is it now we'll put the new or newly established ordinance under the guidelines established by this particular ordinance with regard to legal processes. So I would make a motion to approve resolution 2013.
Do I have a support to that motion?
Support.
Motion made by Lillis, support by Peterson. You know, I'd like to thank both of you, Brian, you and Tim, for putting a little more, muscle into this ordinance, because I hope we don't have to deal with it, but we can now. Anyone have any comments?
Just one for the chief. Being a recipient of a couple of these animal control tickets, chief, where some people would think that I'm above the law. I see you didn't raise them, so I can't afford to pay them, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
Understanding there might be a fence coming?
You know, Brad, that's pretty good. I would never did it.
Gotta own it up, Mayor. Gotta own it up.
Any further discussion?
I think the chief might have a
Oh, Tim,
few
do you want
words, a
to
presentation.
Mayor and Council, we've been talking a lot about synthetic drugs in the past, and there might be some in the public that aren't really aware of what are we talking about when we mention synthetic drugs. What we're talking about are mainly two types. One, we're going to have synthetic cannabinoids, otherwise known as synthetic marijuana, and then we're also going to have a second one, which is called the synthetic cannabinoid. I can't even pronounce this, cathinones. Both of these types of drugs are commonly sold in legal retail outlets such as herbal incense or potpourri, and the synthetic cathinones are sold as bath salts or jewelry cleaner. They are specifically labeled right on the packages, not labeled for human consumption, to mask their intended purpose and avoid the Food and Drug Administration regulatory oversights to manufacture these types of products.
let's talk a little bit about the synthetic cannabinoids or the synthetic marijuana. If you look at our ordinance, there's a long list of different names that we joked about at our last meeting. Those are specifically pointed at the synthetic cannabinoids. And what it is they're often man-made chemicals that are applied to plant material. They're either sprayed on or they're soaked in, and you get this material on that, and it is called the legal high. Users claim that the synthetic cannabinoids are similar to marijuana, which has the THC in it. The use of the synthetic cannabinoids are alarmingly high. They've done a study, you have to understand this is a new type of drug out there, so we really don't have a lot of information on it. We really don't know the effects of it because we're still in the baby phase of it. A lot of the other drugs that we have out there, long-lasting effects have been known 10, 20, 30 years down the road. Obviously, when we start talking about the synthetic drugs, they're relatively new to the United States. Back in 2009 is when they were first, a shipment was found in Ohio. So just in the last year to 2 years, we've seen a highly increased use of these drugs. So we really don't know what the long-lasting effects of them are, whether next year, the following year, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So it's kind of scary. When we start talking about the synthetic cathinones, these are the man-made chemicals relating to amphetamines. So you have the synthetic marijuana, and now you have the synthetic cathinones, also known as the bath salts that we talked about on the last meeting. And they're definitely not the powder that you stick in the bathtubs. There's no correlation between the two of them. But the synthetic cathinones, again, these are related to amphetamines. Obviously, both of these are a huge increasing problem to our society. Why use them? Well, people perceive them as being legal. The way they're selling them, not for human consumption. Young adults, mediocre adults of all ages are using these because they said, oh, we can buy it in the stores, it's legal. Is it a problem up here on the Iron Range? Absolutely. Do we have an issue with it in Eveleth? Absolutely we do. Our department has responded to businesses in the past several months where management has called us down there. We've actually had to escort employees off the property. You're going to start seeing more and more businesses coming up with policies on the use of synthetics. I can say we had an ambulance call today on a male individual who was having losing my he was having hallucinations and he was having spasms. The ambulance was called there, and we had determined he was under the influence of synthetic cannabinoids. The contents and the effects of synthetic cannabinoids and cathinones are unpredictable due to the consistently changing variety of the chemicals used in the manufacturing process of it. Also, getting back to why else people use them versus marijuana, because they're not picked up in the standard drug tests. So people that are using the synthetic drugs, if they go into on their job and they're getting tested for THC or cocaine or some of the other well-known drugs, it's not going to show up on your standard test. So these people are using it at work, operating equipment, driving driving all these vehicles under the influence. It's not being picked up immediately. I'm going to show you just a couple. I'm borrowing these from another police department right now. Get a good picture of that. These little packages right here are commonly what the synthetic drugs are going to be sold in. They come in various, this one that you're looking at right here comes in a 1.5 gram. These will be sold at some of your local retailing shops from an average of $13 all the way up to $40. Some of these individual places that are selling these are making huge, huge amounts of money. We're seeing some of the consequences down in Duluth right now. We have some local places in the city of Virginia selling these exact same items. On the bottom, if you can zero in, you're going to see some of the items used to use these substances are glass pipes, metal pipes, straws. They're taken either smoked, they can be taken snorted, they can be taken orally. Any way that they can get them into your system, they're going to be used. You'll also see another packaging type that they will commonly use on these little plastic containers. Again, inside you'll be able to see a flaky substance. It has an appearance similar to marijuana, but it's not. They'll consider it potpourri. And again, some of these chemicals are sprayed on them, soaked on them, and then to dry, and then being consumed into your body. Some of the effects of the bath salts or the cathinones that I'd like to talk about when these are taken into the body. Very, very severe paranoia, which is a problem for law enforcement that we have to deal with when we respond to some of these calls. Or sometimes cause the user to harm themselves or others. Some of these people have suicidal thoughts, agitation, combative violent behavior, which I think every one of our officers on our department can testify to. Confusion, hallucinations, psychosis, increased heart rate, hypertension, chest pain, death, or serious injury. Now these are just some of the bath salts. Long term, they can stay in your system and they will feel the effect of the high for 4 to 6 hours after their use. So can you imagine an employee coming into work using this at 8 o'clock in the morning, they're still high most of the day that they're working. Some of the effects of the synthetic cannabinoids or the marijuana, loss of control, lack of pain response, increased agitation, pale skin, seizures, vomiting, profuse sweating, uncontrolled spasms, body spasms, elevated blood pressure, heart rate, and palpitations, etc. Again, one of the most frightening factors is that users may experience a dysphoria. The best way to describe this dysphoria is it is the opposite of a euphoria. Spice user or somebody that smokes this or takes it into their body describes it as, I felt as if I were in hell. And the problem is you're never going to get a consistent same effect from any one of these drugs because the chemical compounds in them are always changing. So you never know what is going to happen to any individual that once they take it. As troubling as the short-term effects that I've mentioned of these drugs are, what is even more concerning is the fact that no one knows what the long-term effects will be. They simply haven't been around long enough for medical professions to know how the users will be affected in 10, 20, or even further more into the future. So again, I guess parents, if you keep an eye on your youth, if you see this type of packaging that says incense, not for human consumption, this is not, these are synthetic drugs that people are in possession of. You can notify the police department, which would be my suggestion. We will give you some information how to deal with that. At the police department, if you have any questions, please give us a call. We have also information and packets at the police department on the effects and some of the signs and symptoms, what to look for if you feel somebody is abusing these. So with that said, it is a problem in our community. It is a problem in our entire area. It is a problem in our country right now, and hopefully the legislatures will take a stronger stance. I know I talked to Attorney Brunfelt a little bit, and hopefully in the upcoming legislation they'll make some changes, which we won't have to keep making these ordinance exactly what we're doing. But again, the main focus of this ordinance is to let people know, number one, that we are not going to allow these drugs into our community, and if you do, you're going to have consequences dealing with them. So, any questions?
Thank you. Thank
Anybody
you.
have any questions, Chief?
No, but I'm pretty sure that these drugs are being used across socioeconomic backgrounds, so don't think that it can't strike in your family or to your friends, because it's
The
at
rich, the
every
poor,
level.
the middle class, that everybody is using them.
Thank you. I don't think we voted on that resolution yet, did we?
Yep, earlier. Oh, no, this
No, we
one,
didn't.
no, we didn't.
Anyone have any further questions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, resolution carried, and we have nothing more under new business. We'll move on to council presentations or committee reports. Anybody have anything to add? I think we had a pretty good presentation from Bruce Paulson on our project. And Chief, do you have anything else to add tonight? Mike, you have anything?
Two quick items. We're in the fourth and final week of our refuse collection at the city garage, and this week we're open 7 till 3:30. Typically, we'll keep the bins for a day or two next week until they're full. So if somebody would have something Monday, I'm sure you could probably still squeeze it in. The other comment I wanted to make was we were originally planning to start picking up yard waste yesterday, October 14th. The trees really didn't want to give up their leaves this year, so we haven't started that yet. We're going to look at starting that next Monday, the 21st. So you still have the rest of this week and the weekend to get your yard waste out in the alley or the edge of the street if you don't have an alley, and we'll be out picking it up on Monday.
Okay. Eric, Jones Street's looking pretty good.
Yeah, it's coming together. I think they hit their completion date with the county's completion date, and Director Wisco and myself will be meeting with the county next week to go through a final punch list on the project. So, other than that, if you have any specific questions.
I had one this morning, but Mike had, I didn't, somebody did, but Mike already answered that question about certain manholes or whatever. And I got the answer already, so I was ready for that question. But it looks really good. I was surprised they got it done so fast towards the end. Jackie, you have anything to bring up? Mitch, you have anything to add?
Nothing from me, Mayor and Council.
Anybody else from the council?
I've got a couple things, Mayor.
Oh.
A little on the lighter side of things.
Uh-oh.
We get to draw tickets again tonight. For the wild tickets. Let's see, we can.
Dig in there deep, Mayor.
Thought I had it open here. Oh. Okay.
There it is.
There's the trick to it. So with this one, we'll pass it around and we'll get some November 3rd, New Jersey.
Beth, I'll let you
Minnesota
draw.
Wild against
Oh,
New
boy.
Jersey.
Not right off the surface.
Getting heckled. Shelby Paulson, 626 Summit, Eveleth. You drawing two, Brad?
We're gonna draw 4 tonight, Mayor.
4 tonight?
November 15th would be Florida.
Okay, Beth, you ready for the next? Scott Jarvie, 801 Douglas, Eveleth.
That one's off.
Oh, yeah, you gotta mix them around. Kevin Mackey, 109 Elba, Eveleth.
The second game was November 15th for Florida. Mr. Jarvie won that one. And then the next one will be November 17th, and this was Kevin Mackey.
And we got the last one. Take Richard Jola, Norman Avenue, Eveleth.
And that is 4. That will be November 29th against Wild against Colorado. Okay, so that's always fun, the lighter side of things.
The suspense, that's,
We have just a couple more This past weekend, Mayor, I had the privilege of going to Council 65 convention. And it turns out that our spare city has been in the AFSCME union for 53 years. So with that being said, they gave a banner to our fair city for their 53 years of union, sorry, Mayor, participation. And to all our employees, past and present, thank you, and a job well done. You served the city very fair and very well. And let's see, one more thing would be 40 years come Wednesday for our state championship football team. The meeting is, I believe, 4:30. Let me double check that. 6:30 p.m., 5 until 6:30 at the senior high cafeteria. Please come and join all the people and wish them luck and congratulate them for 40 years of survival after big games. Congratulations to the 1973 football team, champions, state champions. And then with that being done, I'm done.
You're done for tonight?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
you said a lot tonight, Brad, I'll tell you. Anybody else have anything to add? Anyone from the audience have anything at this point? If not, I'll adjourn the meeting.